Welcome back to First Chapter Friday. This week I'm going to read something a little different. I'm going to read just a bit of Monstrous, the lore, gore, and science behind your favorite monsters by Carlyn Beccia. Here's what it says on the back of the book. Some of them lurch out of laboratories, others terrorize entire cities, and still others want to eat your brains. Carlyn Beccia presents werewolves, vampires, zombies, and more as you've never seen them. Discover the origins of 8 scream-worthy monsters, find out how major historical events shaped their creation, and delve into the science behind these fearful beasts. Engrossing and gross timelines, maps, and infographics offer essential information, including the zombie virus life cycle and how to survive Godzilla's nuclear breath. All right, let's dive in. Here is the introduction. The magic of science. Some beautiful illustrations here. A lot to take in. In the 5th century, English ruler Vortigern was attempting to build a great fortress in Wales, but every time the foundation stones were laid, the ground shook and the fortress collapsed. When Vortigern consulted his wise advisors, they told him the fortress would never stand because the land was cursed. The only way to break the curse was to soak the foundation with the blood of a fatherless boy. They found such a boy in a nearby village, and the boy was brought before the king. Upon learning that he was about to be human fertilizer, the boy insisted the real problem was not a curse on the land, but instead 2 dragons, one red and one white. He said the dragons were trapped underneath the earth, and their fighting caused the ground to shake. Vortigern didn't need blood, he just needed to release the dragons. So the king ordered the earth dug up, and he found the dragons in hollow stones and released them. Thereafter, the fortress stood strong. The king fired his advisors and made the boy his right-hand man. The boy grew up to become the great wizard, Merlin. Was Merlin really a powerful wizard? Probably not. But perhaps he did know something about science. Wales is known for having pockets of the gas hydrogen sulfide trapped underground. Hydrogen sulfide has a pretty horrible rotten egg smell, and Merlin might have smelled it wafting through the air. Sometimes hydrogen sulfide mixes with the odorless gas methane, and when these gases get trapped in rocks, boom, explosions happen. Merlin was clever. He knew he wasn't going to convince King Vortigern that his fears were not real, so instead he used science to save himself. You too can use science to conquer monsters and blame it on wizardry. The monstrous have no magic. The real magic is science. Aha! All right, and here is the science of Monstrous. Science of the monstrous. Millions of years ago, your prehistoric ancestors roamed the open plains. There were kids just like you. They picked berries, danced, and drew pretty pictures on caves. They had a blast hanging out at the local watering hole. You might even know some people like that today, always smiling and never scared or anxious about anything. You know, fearless people. Yeah, those people died. Probably eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or bludgeoned to death by rivals while they were peacefully sleeping. But that apprehensive cave woman with her spear at the ready, suspicious of every berry, and with one eye open as she slept, she survived. She is your great-great-great-grandmother, and probably a few more greats. And she has passed down her lessons of survival into the most primitive parts of your brain. Fear keeps us alive. The part of your brain that responds to fear has not changed since your prehistoric grandmother. When you are scared, an almond-shaped mass called the amygdala activates a split-second response called fight or flight. The fight or flight response causes your eyes to widen and pulse to quicken. It sends blood away from your intestines to your muscles so that you can either outrun the monster or stab it in the eye. During this process, the neurotransmitter dopamine is released. Neurotransmitters are the messengers in your brain that tell you how to feel, but they are not always clear on which emotion. Have you ever noticed that when someone sneaks up behind you and screams, "Boo!" your first reaction is to startle, but your second reaction is often to laugh, possibly followed by plots of revenge against whomever scared you? That is dopamine messing with your brain. Dopamine is released when you feel fear, but it is also released when you feel pleasure. This is partly why we enjoy fear. When we conquer our fears, it gives us a huge sense of accomplishment. Something has scared us, but we have survived. Unfortunately, there is a downside to fear. Some people use fear to control the behavior of others. For example, I could convince you that a zombie apocalypse is coming and that you might read this book to survive. Then I would make tons of money, buy a castle in Spain, and live alone with my one-eyed cat and piles of spam, while you would fear every stranger as a possible zombie contaminant. But I am going to do the opposite, because I know you are too smart to be manipulated by fear. And I already have a one-eyed cat, piles of spam, and a castle in Spain. Instead, I am going to activate your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain that controls reasoning, and it kicks in once your fight or flight response is calmed down. Your prefrontal cortex says, "Wait just a minute, spam hoarding lady with the one-eyed cat. I am not buying that vampires are going to suck my blood nonsense, because blood contains a very lethal mineral," which you'll find on page 34 of this book. And yes, the water is dark and scary, but the Kraken just wants to be left alone to play with his Kraken friends, which is on page 85. And sorry, know-it-all author, but everyone knows zombies can't survive on a diet of brains because a brain is the least nutritious part of the human body. And that's on page 50. Why? Because of science. Science is stronger than fear. Ha ha ha. And I'm going to read just the last little bit of this page here about the science of the monstrous. Why you should never stress your mom out. Your brain is not the only organ altered by fear. Under extreme stress, your heart's left ventricle can enlarge at the bottom and narrow at the top like a balloon animal being tied off. Known as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy or broken heart syndrome, the condition is named after a takotsubo, a Japanese pot used to trap octopuses. Far more women than men experience the condition, but unfortunately, most people who have it recover. Fortunately, most people who have it recover. So don't stress your mom out, or else you'll give her broken heart syndrome. Don't do that. All right, I hope you are excited to read the rest of this book. It's hefty. There's a lot of information in there, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. So check it out from the Alameda Free Library. See you next time on First Chapter Friday.